Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Empower Hour, where we take 1 hour out of your week to discuss some impactful information that affects us all in our community. My name is Al Kumar. This is my co-host,
Hanifa.
And we are here joining you this week. And we're going to be discussing homeschooling. Not only are we going to be discussing homeschooling, but we're going to be breaking down all the barriers and all the misconceptions and all the things that the hearsay that we've been hearing over the years about homeschool and all the challenges and things that get us afraid of journeying down that road. So we're going to bust up all those stereotypes today about homeschooling. But before we get started, I just want to share with you where we are. This is Everlasting Life Vegan Restaurant and Lounge. We're at 9185 Central Avenue. That's in Capitol Heights, Maryland. We are open for business 6 days a week. You can come, 7 days a week. Not only can you come and grab a healthy meal, you can also come and get a whole lot of your culture vibes taken care of. So we do a lot of culture things around here. We do a dinner and a movie night each and every Friday night. That starts at 7 p.m. where we take a new documentary and we air it every Friday, and then we have a discussion following the documentary. This Friday, we're going to be airing the Rabbit Proof Fence. I'm not sure if you guys have ever seen that, but it's an interesting story based on a true story about some children in Australia, some Aboriginal children in Australia, where they were actually taken from their parents by the government to be used as indentured servants, basically, without being paid. And it just goes through the story of how that was done and the process of how they, did that. And it was really recent too. We're not talking 200-300 years ago. This was in the 1900s. So Rabbit Proof Fence is going to be airing this Friday, 7 p.m. Come out and join us for that. We also do the Solstice. The Solstice Shopping Bazaar takes place the first Saturday of every month. When we take the dining in area, we fill it with vendors, and you can come out and shop with all kind of local artistry and get all your shopping pleasures taken care of right here with us. That's first Saturday. The next one is July 1st, and that's from 12 to 6 p.m. We also do a Chopping It Up with the Irritated Genie. Each and every Monday evening, he does a community forum where you can come in, and he does a different discussion every week. And he takes the community and brings them in on the discussion, and we hash it out right here in the dining-in area. I think this Monday he's going to be doing something on the light-skin, dark-skin dynamic in our community. So that should be interesting. So come on out and join. That starts at about 6:30. What else do we have going on here? So much.
It is, yeah. You covered everything.
Okay. The Solstice, the Health, we do wine tasting every Thursday evening as well. So if you want to come out and do some networking, there's a wine tasting networking event that takes place. That's free and it's open to the public, and that takes place here every Thursday evening, starting at 6 p.m. As you know, you may not, Everlasting Life has 3 different locations. This location here on Central Avenue is the main hub, but Everlasting Life also, the owner has 2 other locations there where you can get the same great tasting food right in at Evolve Vegan Restaurant or Vigoritos. And they both are located in the Tacoma Park section of Washington, D.C. All right, so let's get started here. I have some exciting guests in the studio with us today.
Yes,
we have some little ones. So what we're going to do is we're going to take like the first 10 minutes and talk to these children who are currently being homeschooled. Okay, we want to talk to them about their experience. What do they like about it? What don't? I mean, if they don't have any likes, then, we're just going to, hash it out with them. So I'm going to turn this around so you guys can see these beautiful faces, bright, smiley faces.
You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yes.
We could start from right here.
I'm Israel Ocean Marie Frederick, and I'm just glad to be here.
All right, Israel. All right.
Hello, my name is Kyle Wright.
Kyle.
Hi,
Is it Kyle?
Kyle.
Kyle. Okay. Okay. Now, Israel, how old are you?
I'm 15.
And Kyle?
I'm 11.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Serenity. I'm 10.
You're 10.
Hi, I'm Malachi and I'm 13.
All right. All right.
Too little. But
So, yeah. So tell us, anybody who wants to join in, tell us, how do you like being homeschooled?
I actually love it. It's amazing. I love that the curriculum that we get, it's way more far more advanced. I'm a student who loves to be challenged completely, so I love the challenge. I also like the consciousness of it. I feel like I'm learning way more than I would be in public school, and I'm far more improving in my academic work, so that is.
All right. Anybody else want to chime in on that question?
Yeah, it's really just, you know, in public schools, because I was in public schools first, well, my public school at least, it was boring and learning was bland and you could just never get stuff done because you wanted to go to sleep. But, like, in this homeschool, or any homeschool for real, it's, like, fun to learn, and I didn't know that that was able to be a real thing, but it is.
Wow.
anyone else?
Homeschool, I never thought homeschool would be this fun. Public schools, to be honest, I don't like public schools because they don't, if you don't get a lesson that they taught, they will keep going on with the same lesson. But in homeschool, you can stick on that one lesson and learn it. And Mama Shona is good for that because she just don't rush a kid to learn.
So you get to learn at your own pace.
Yes.
Right. Excellent.
She gets deep into it. Like, if someone has a question, she doesn't ignore it until the end of class. She actually engages in that question, and that's what I really like about homeschool.
Beautiful.
All right. So can you guys tell me how long have you been being homeschooled? Anyone can answer.
It's my first year.
This is your first year. So we heard Malachi. Yeah. Okay. What about anyone else?
It's been like, how many months? 5 months?
Oh, okay.
It's been 3 years for me.
Okay.
3 years for me as well.
Okay. Now, the homeschool for you guys, was there a particular reason why your parents or did you decide that you wanted to be homeschooled?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
You want to share your story?
Israel looked really anxious. Go ahead.
So, actually, when I was in public school, at first I went to a private school. There wasn't really much of a problem there. But once I transferred to public school, it was hard for me to adjust to the environment. It was a lot of kids, like almost like 30 to 40 kids in the classroom. It was a lot of adjusting to do with the noise level in the classroom. Not to mention what Kyle said about, you know, like people, like the teacher going over one lesson and just when a child doesn't get it, they don't explain it correctly. So it was really hard for me to, adjust to that. And then I was failing my grades as well because of that. It was a really fast-paced environment, and I needed to learn at my own pace. And once I got the pace in homeschool, my grades started improving, and I started getting A's.
And I'm sure that did something to your self-esteem, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
So was it your decision to make, or did your parents?
It was my mom's decision, but I was really happy when she made the decision. I was like, yes! And I was like, oh, I'm working with Mama Persona, then no doubt. Because I heard about her back in my old school, and the kids always loved her. So I was like, okay, I'm working with a new teacher. Let's see how this goes. And then the first year, I'm like, Mommy, can I come back? And she's like, yes, you can. And I'm like, yes! Oh, like, this is so fun. So
what does a typical day look like for you guys being homeschooled?
Perfect.
So can you walk us through it? Like, at school you come in, they maybe have something that they do in the morning, and then you do some work, then you have recess, and you come back. What does your day look like in comparison to the typical maybe public private school day?
It's like we come in and we get situated. We take out our binders and we just like if we had breakfast. If we didn't have breakfast, Mom Prashona always lets us have breakfast. That's her main deal. Then we have to take our shoes off because we don't want the dirt that's on our shoes to get in Mom Prashona's floor. Our other ritual, it's like we go to recess. We do our meditation. It's a lot calmer than public school. Let's just say that.
Okay.
All right.
It's more, she's right, it is very calm, and it's more slower, and at a pace that's possible, I should say. Compared to my routine at my last school, you had only 5 minutes to get to the classroom, and you got like 30 kids running in one hallway,
Yes.
or even more kids running through a hallway trying to get to one classroom. So, and there's a lot of classrooms, and then you have like a homeroom where you got 7 different classes to go to, but we learn all those subjects just with one teacher. And so,
And we're gonna just so you guys know, we're gonna be bringing in this amazing woman, Mama Prashona, in a minute to discuss something further. But right now, we're talking with the children. You mentioned that your grades were failing when you were in public school.
yes.
How are they now?
Now my grades are excelling. I am no longer getting those bad grades that I had. I would be getting E's, because in Maryland, E's are pretty much considered basically like an F. So now I'm getting A's and B's. It's easier for me because basically I have someone to explain it to me, and once I've gotten it, I'm a visual learner. So once I get someone who explains it to me the way I needed to learn it, I have it. I don't need any more help. I can just do it.
Gotcha.
So
All right. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. So what about the I want to hear a little bit from the boys real quickly. So what about you guys? Did you guys have any experience like Israel where you felt not just your grades, but maybe your self-esteem improved? Go ahead and share your experience.
Like why I moved out of school or?
Yeah, well, both. Yeah, you can start there.
Well, I moved out of school. For my reason, it was because my teacher was actually really, really mean. But for Mom, my teacher was actually, she didn't give me the correct education, and it felt like, it was like, okay, here, I'm gonna give you a test, but you have to know it, and guess what? You didn't study for this, so, like, you just couldn't do it. But like with Mama Prashona and any co-op, for real, you have almost the whole entire day to do it, and to practice for tests or practice for a big thing. So yeah.
Well, I moved out of DC public schools because.
Speak into the mic, baby. We can hear you.
Well, I moved out to DC public schools because we wanted to try something new because that wasn't going to get me anywhere. And so we tried. Well, I've been to a lot of schools, and all the schools, it didn't really fit me until I went to the homeschool, to Mom Prashona homeschool my mom found. And now I'm learning much more and doing way better than I used to do in public schools.
What was the biggest adjustment you guys had to make? What was it, something like when you first came out of public school and then you just jumped right into homeschool? What was the biggest difference that you had to adjust to?
It was at home.
Very simple, right?
I had to adjust taking off my shoes because she did not like she did not like her floor dirty with shoes. That's the biggest adjustment.
Okay.
I would say my biggest adjustment was because being in that environment when I was in public school, it changed my mindset a little. So I could say I had a little bit of lackness to me myself, and I started acting different. Like I would be a little bit more snapper. I would snap at little things or get really upset, and oftentimes I kind of still do, but I've gotten better at it, being a better person. I've been nicer. It's been easier for me to learn and take in what the teacher's giving me, and I don't get my attention doesn't go anywhere else when I'm learning. I've been better with that, and I've been better with expressing my feelings when I'm feeling some way because of this community that I'm in now, where I'm in an environment where I'm comfortable with expressing my feelings, and if I have something on my mind, she'll openly, or anyone in the community would just openly listen, and when there's a problem, it gets solved just like that. So I'm glad that I have someone to listen and actually take the time to be caring. Another thing I noticed about Mama Prashona and the community I'm in now is it's nurturing. She's very nurturing. Back in homeschool, they basically didn't care. I didn't feel like they cared about me. And now she cares. Like, there's been moments where I would stay after school and she'd be like, oh, do you need a ride home? Do you need help? And when I was going through tough times, she would be there to help me.
Beautiful.
So she was not just my teacher, she was a part of my family. And that's what I feel like.
So I know we're about to bring Miss Prashona in, so I just want to ask outside, just personally to each individual, if you guys could just answer. Now, do you guys have an idea of what you want to be when you grow up?
Of course.
Yes.
Okay, we can start with Israel. Go ahead.
I want to be a teacher.
All right.
I'm gonna be an engineer.
An engineer, Serenity.
I want to be a doctor.
All right.
I'm kind of confused what I want to be right now, but
That's okay.
I'm still thinking.
That's all
All
right.
right, as long as you're thinking, that's good.
Is there anything about public schools that you guys miss at all?
Actually, yes. People, I miss, like, being able to just be around teenagers my age. There are children that are my age, but I'm talking about the number of kids my age.
Okay.
So being able to communicate and, just socialize was a thing. But actually, it's something I'm kind of growing out of because I'm sort of getting used to being around a small group. It's not that bad. It's actually pretty calming.
Yeah.
You have a really positive attitude. I like that.
Anybody else miss anything about
Monkey bars.
the monkey bars? Can't swing on monkey bars in the home.
Serenity, you know?
I'm still kind of I'm still kind of getting used to homeschool, so it's different. Like, you're not running around with 30 kids. You're not sitting around with in a cramped place with a million children screaming and yelling, not paying attention to the teacher, wondering why they failed the test.
I'm still getting used to coming to a home every morning and not my home, because when I first started, I thought I was imagining like a big old building, but we went around the corner, it was just an apartment, and I was just like very confused because I wasn't used to it, and now I think I'm getting adjusted to it now.
Okay. All right. Well, I thank you guys for sharing. One last quick question. What is your favorite thing to learn about in homeschool? Real quick. If you had to choose one thing. Okay, we can start.
My history.
History? You said, repeat
Black
that.
history.
Black history? You
Okay.
said my history. Oh, that's another wonderful thing about homeschooling, right?
Yeah, you get to learn about the things they don't teach in public schools.
Okay. Anybody else?
Logic.
Logic?
Yes.
Is that the subject?
Yes.
Yes.
Technically math.
It's like math.
It's
science.
like math. That is my favorite subject to learn.
Okay.
I also like science she teaches a lot of science, which is great because I want to be a doctor, so I have to learn what chemicals to give them and which chemicals not to give them so they don't
Die.
typically, yeah.
I would say my favorite subject is science as well because I get to learn about Earth and everything. There are so much things I did not know about Earth until now. I'm just wondering.
Beautiful.
Just
Beautiful.
It's amazing.
All right, family. Well, what we're going to do at this point is we're going to have them step out of the and just step in and have a real comfortable seat on the couch. And we're going to bring this amazing woman that they are all screaming so much about, Mama Prashona. Mama Prashona. We're going to have Miss Prashona join us here in the studio. Yeah. And I'm going to turn this around so you guys can get a view of who she is. All right, Miss Prashona. This is Prashona, family. And I know you all are probably saying, oh, she looks young. I've had the pleasure of working very closely with Prashona on several different projects. So I know firsthand how amazing you are. I mean, and I'm not just saying that because she's here on the show. I mean, this woman is a powerhouse. And not only does she, as you can hear, does an amazing job with these homeschoolers. Bring this down so I can see you a little bit more. She does a lot around around the community as well. So she does a lot of grassroots organizing. You see her wherever the movers and the shakers are in the city. That's getting things done cultural wise. You will find Prashona right there, smack in the middle of it all.
Okay.
So I would like again to introduce you guys to Miss Prashona.
I feel like Cuba Gooding Jr. and Jerry Maguire's like, you trying to make me cry? Don't make me cry today.
So how do you feel about hearing hearing the students talk?
That was tearing up. That was my first time hearing them all, talk about the program. Even asking them, prepping them for this interview was like, wow, okay. It's really amazing to see that, this baby, this thing that you've been working on is making an impact. And, and I think also for me, when I started, it was about, curriculum and how to reshape education so that it can reach the youth. And what I'm starting to notice this year with my third year is the relationships, like with my babies, like Israel was saying, like they were always saying, just starting to, this year I've been noticing myself becoming more intuitive to them. Like I saw Israel this morning, I was like, Israel, are you thirsty right now? Like what's, if you look, your face looks like you need something. Yeah, and it's like, wow, I was talking to a friend of mine about it, and she was like, that's being a mother, that's being a parent, and that's my first, even Malachi, like we all know when Malachi needs to eat, because he starts to lose his, he has a slogan that he always says, and when he stops saying it, we know it's time for him to eat.
Almost like the Snicker commercial.
Right, it's that Popeye, can of spinach. So it's been a huge blessing to start to notice our relationships, and they're like my brothers and sisters now.
Beautiful. Tell us a little bit about I Am Son.
Okay, so I Am Son is so we've been kind of tossing around little epithets for I Am Son for a while now, and I think the one that resonates with us this year is we call it the bilingual unschool for the gifted. And we got the idea from XMen because we're all really big XMen fans. And the XMen's school was called the Xavier School for the Gifted. So just the idea of evolving humans.
Okay.
Sort of thing. So what it is I'll tell you where it started. A couple years ago, when I started teaching in the school system and just realizing that it seemed like 50 books for all kinds of things, right? You had the spelling books, you had language arts books, you had math, you had a reading book, you had like more challenging spelling books, you had the the longer reading books, the short reading. It was just a lot, and and I'm just seeing all these books on their back, on their backs, and it's just and
they're heavy,
and then there's notebooks everywhere, and then people are forgetting homework, and it's just like, It was like all my
Chaotic.
OCDness was just coming. It was like, I can't, it's too much. It's just like, what's happening? So I started
And
like,
you're
okay.
the teacher feeling this
And I'm
way.
the teacher, and I'm feeling
Imagine the
overwhelmed.
students.
You know what I mean? And I feel like with every like 2-3 books that we're adding onto their back, it's like more of a disdain for school is subconsciously happening.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So it started with the idea of like, okay, how can we consolidate this, right? Like I think there's a way to have a reading writing curriculum that encompasses social studies, that encompasses science, and this year found out that it can even encompass math, right? And have it more intertwined. The big idea is a journey instead of just this like throwing standards at them left and right. Like here, now learn long division, and now it's time for time, and elapsed time, and now it's time for fractions. And it's just everywhere. It's all over the place. There's no rhyme or reason to it, and realizing that if you do give a rhyme or reason, if you give a story, a journey, then it resonates more. That now okay, we're going from physics, which is the idea of quantifying energy, into atoms, right, and chemistry, which is the enclosed energy systems, right, that make up everything. Now it's like, okay, now I get it. I see how everything connects, or even going from algebraic equations into energy equations.
Right.
Right. Making these bridges.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I think we have a caller on the line. So we do want to bring the caller in. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
What's your name and who you calling for?
My name is Khadija Abdullah.
Okay, this is Khadija.
Oh, Khadija,
Hi,
hello.
Khadija.
Yes. This is another young lady who's, Khadija, turn your computer off or down. Turn the volume down on your computer, Khadija, so we can hear you clearer. So we're going to bring Khadija in on the discussion as well. She is also a parent of homeschooled children. So we want to get in. Khadija, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Tennessee.
Okay, Tennessee. And just tell us real briefly a little bit about, who you are and how you get started in homeschooling.
Okay, so my name is Khadija Abdullah. My family is originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I started homeschooling my oldest daughter after she had attended school up until the 2nd grade. She had went to 3 schools by that time. A religious school for kindergarten, a public school for the first grade, a charter school for the 2nd grade. 2nd grade was the year I decided I was going to homeschool.
Okay.
I think I was about 20 years old at the time. I was a teenage mom, so
Oh wow, 20.
2nd grade, I decided, I'm going to homeschool because I don't see any progress. I don't see anything happening in these schools. We went from one school to another, and she was learning the same thing from kindergarten to 2nd grade, except for maybe instead of adding 1 number, she could add 2 now.
Okay.
So that was my deciding factor that, okay, there's nothing really happening here, and she's being exposed to things that I don't want her to be exposed to. I need to bring this home.
All right.
So by this time, I think I was going on my 3rd child. I got married when I was 17, and so I said to my husband, I'm going to homeschool. And I said to my mom, I'm going to homeschool. And they both, looked at me like, no, I don't think that's something you should do. That's what they have schools for. Send them to school.
How are the children doing now since you've been schooling them yourself?
So now my oldest daughter, who is just turned 25 on June 14th, we graduated from LaSalle in 2015 from LaSalle University in Philadelphia with magna cum laude.
Beautiful.
And my second to oldest, she's 22, she'll be 23 in November. She is in Kutztown University in her last year. And my 19-year-old graduated high school this year. and then I have a 14-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Okay, all right. You had any questions?
No, I mean, I wanted Khadija to call in and kind of share her testimony.
Okay.
So you're still homeschooling your youngest at this time, correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
You're currently homeschooling your youngest?
So I'm homeschooling the 14-year-old and the 4-year-old.
Okay. Okay.
So I wanted you to call in and share your testimony, your success stories of your kids, because there's like a lot of misconceptions around homeschooling.
Right.
So it was good to, have someone call in. And you sound like you started this really young, kind of just took the risk and, just went for it and ended up being a success. So thank you for calling in and sharing your testimony with us.
Well, hang on there with us, Khadija, because there's a couple more questions we're going to have for you. Prashona, there's a misconception that when you're homeschooling children, like the whole 8 hours is tabletop instruction. Is that
no.
that's not the case?
No.
So break down for us what kind of a regular.
Sure. Well, I have to say, in this unschooling process, I had to unschool myself as well, right? Because the way that I was taught, it's like you just do it. Memorize these multiplication tables, do it, or suffer the consequences of your mother. So it's like so I'm used to just being told what to do and then doing it. This generation is not like that, and and I've had to learn that. So when I first started teaching and I would tell them like, okay, we'll just memorize these multiplication facts. See you guys next week, and we'll have everything memorized. And it didn't work out.
You started out?
Yeah, sure.
Wow,
It didn't.
okay.
Yeah, it didn't work.
So this was a journey for you as well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Every day, every year is a journey for
Yeah.
me. So so learning how to incorporate activities, how to incorporate games. Figuring out what we can do in the classroom, and then what kind of homework to give when you get home too. Another thing a parent taught me a few years ago is the whole culture behind homework, right? When we do schooling, like public schooling, they're in there from about 8 to 3, 4 p.m. and then parents usually don't get back from work about 5 or 6. And the parent told me this. She said by the time I get them home for dinner, it's about 7.
Absolutely.
Then and they have about 1 hour of family time before they got to go to bed.
Yeah.
So and I was giving them way more than 1 hour worth of work every night, but we already have them for 8 hours. So it's like this overworking culture and no time with the family.
Right.
It's like we're implementing that into the school culture, and it's like, you know what? We're here and we're gonna spend this time here to learn everything we can, answer all of your questions.
Right.
So
What about going outside of the home and like trips and things of that nature?
Yeah, that's a big thing. We've been incorporating what we call adventures. I got that from my big cousin. He would just call us up and like, oh, we're going on an adventure. So we'll take adventures. We'll go to we'll visit the best playgrounds. We Google search the best playgrounds in DC, and then we'll pop up like, hey, this is ours too.
I love it.
Yeah.
Khadija, you still there with us?
I am.
What about you? How about curriculum? Are you there like teaching 8 hours a day, like sort of like a classroom setting at home?
So each child was different. My oldest daughter was very into academics, so I couldn't unschool with her. But we went on a lot of trips. We spent the whole year, the first year, getting to know each other because I didn't know my daughter as well as I thought she was growing up, and being home, reignited our relationship from when she was a little girl. So we started going on trips, but I started doing the Trivium curriculum. The Trivium is based off of grammar, logic. I'm sorry, and the little baby's talking to me. It's based off of grammar and logic, and I'm skipping a phase, elementary phase I want to say, but I don't think that's so.
Yeah.
And so we did that for 2 years, and that's very stringent.
Okay.
So then we moved over to unschooling when my younger daughter got involved.
Okay. So you want to say something?
Yeah, and I want to say I really like how you said to take that time to get to know your daughter. I think that's a big part of unschooling.
Right.
Big part is getting to know your scholars on a personal level.
Yeah.
You know, like in a community level. You know, spending that time.
Right.
And also yourself. I feel like a big part of teaching is really understanding yourself too.
Right.
You know, because you know, in order to have relationships with anybody, if that's a child, family member, friends, anyone, you have to know yourself, right? And understand yourself as a teacher and how to grow and push yourself beyond the boundaries.
Right.
In my life, I've met a couple of people who have been homeschooled. Actually, knew a family at church I used to attend. The entire, I think it was about 3 or 4 of them. Like 4 kids, 3 boys, 1 girl, and they were homeschooled all the way up to college. And one of the boys was getting his PhD by the time I met them. But hadn't watched, one of them was really excited. It was an old movie. They weren't allowed to watch TV. So now that they were adults, you know, he took his little DVD player in his car and he was watching, and we were looking at him like, that movie is so old. But he was so intrigued with it. But one thing that stood out about those kids is that their critical thinking, you know, skills, where they would just, you know, you'll be sitting down and we end up speaking other people's words and thinking other people's thoughts. But the kids who are homeschooled, it's like they problem solve on the individually way better. You know what I mean? And it seems like they're just more well-rounded as far as their perspective on the world. At least from my observation with you I've met.
Yeah, because funny you mentioned that because the whole testing scenario in homeschool versus public school. There's a lot of the public school is geared towards testing. And so you're learning things for question and answer session, you know, or multiple choice for memorization so you can pass this test.
And then after that, the information is
gone. Yeah, and what we've been doing, what I've been learning how to do is incorporating these multiple choice things throughout our year, and then dialoguing about it, because that's one thing that I didn't get to do in the school system.
And hence where the critical thinking skills come in.
Exactly. So what they'll do, like, you know, we'll take, let's say, a Spanish multiple choice exam, and I'll set it up on Google Forms, right? And then they'll get their, you know, they'll get their answers, what they got right, instantly on the spot, and then we'll go through, okay, look through it, see what you got wrong, you know, see if you have any questions or where you had any struggles with. And they've been getting really amazing at that. Like at the end of the quiz, they'll say, okay, I need to work on my conjugations for this verb more, and I get it. Whereas in the beginning, even introducing that, like the idea of a quiz or a test, it was like the stress afterwards. Like, wait, I got a 50, I got a 60%. It's like, wait, we're not gonna look at it like that. You're gonna look at it qualitatively, you know, and then you're gonna ask the questions that you have, and then you can do rematches. We call them rematches. So then they'll say, okay, all right, I see what I got wrong. Can I take a rematch?
I have 2 questions. One, what age do you take kids in? Starting at what age?
Yeah, that's been a process too. What I've learned is middle schools. For me, middle school. So when I started, it was way more like, sure, I'll start at the 3rd grade, you know, and you know, taking sort of anybody and realizing, like, okay, I can't really, that was hard. It was very challenging for me to do that. So trying to keep, I would say it's becoming my strength. I'll say that. I don't know if it's like, it's just automatically that right now, but yeah, I think because with the curriculum that I'm very passionate about teaching, the sociology, you know, the psychosociology, you know, it does sort of take, and I found ways to do it from a 3rd grade level, but if I want to introduce film analysis, like, okay, let's watch Boys in the Hood and, you know, analyze that, or, you know, more like PG-13 sort of movies. So I realize my bracket is sort of middle school.
Right.
Yeah. And then can I say one more thing with Khadija about something that Khadija said? Khadija, I really like how you said that it was which, did you say 3 years or a few years and you saw them doing the same thing?
It's public school?
Yeah. I noticed the same thing. Actually, the scholars created a hip hop theater production about that. Even geometry, right? When you look at geometry is about dimensions, right? So we learn in school up to the 2nd and 3rd dimension, right? Sometimes a 4th when it comes to physics, right? And the same standards over and over and over again. But when you look at physicists have actually discovered up to about 10 to 11 dimensions, right? But we're stuck in the third dimension, and this is like totally intertwined with actual life and possibilities of living, right? And perceiving.
Throughout your whole schooling? You only get
you only get up to volume, right? So like it's like area of volume. That's the third dimension, right? And then physics in the fourth dimension and time, lapse time, which is fourth dimensional stuff, right? But you know, there are physicists getting paid, you know, to uncover all these dimensions that we live in. Yeah. You know, and this is completely connected with life. You know what I mean?
So they're missing out on a lot of life skills.
We're and like the scholar said in their play, they just graduated, so they just had their play at the Bolivarian Hall, like grasshoppers, you know, trapped in those little jars. So you only feel like you can jump 3 inches, but really, you know, you can jump several feet in the air.
You know what I'm thinking about as you're speaking, sort of like just the way the brain is set up. And I'm thinking like the first 5 years of a child's life. And kind of the synapses of the brain, like it's like a use it, lose it type of thing, right? And so with kids, what you can often see, like say kindergarten, first grade, I had my godson. He was very advanced, but they told his mom he can't be skipped to the next grade because it's only after I think 3rd grade or 4th grade he had to wait. You know, so I feel like what you do is you put the kids in an environment where they sort of kind of have to fall back, you know, to fit in, you know, which is crazy because if a 4 or 3-year-old is ready, that's like saying, you know, a 3-year-old is ready to read, but because they're 3, we're not going to allow them to read. You know,
and that's so funny you mentioned that because that came up in my research when I was researching the whole homeschool, and I was really surprised at a lot of things that I was learning that I didn't know, I didn't have awareness of, and like the whole reading thing. Some parents say some children don't start reading until 6 and 7, but that's fine. That doesn't mean they're mentally delayed or anything like that. It's just that each child learns on an individual basis. And so when we lump the children all in one classroom together, and you know, one is reading advanced, quote quote, and one is not, and then we put them in special education because of stuff like that. Well, you know, who's to say that child is not will supersede them all in their own given time? But Khadija, I got a question for you. What would you say to parents out there who are interested in homeschooling, but they, you know, the time factor? I don't have the time, the resources, you know, all the things.
They may be single parents.
Well, first, let me say that I was not a single parent. I was a young mother. I was a teenage mother, and I decided to stay home and live off of very, very, very meager income so that I could homeschool. We did not have a bunch of resources. We did not have unlimited income. It was tight. However, I thought being at home, teaching the kids was better for me than to send them to school. And by the time she was in 2nd grade, she was exposed to way too much that I thought for a 7-year-old. So it was better for me to keep her at home than to keep her in the system. So I would say to those parents, it's going to work out. Like, stay home. You can balance it. Work at night, you have to. Work on the weekends.
Make it work.
You know, getting a homeschooling co-op.
Right, co-op. That's another good point you just brought up, because I think a lot of us have the misconception that when we homeschool our own children, we have to do it all ourselves.
By yourself,
Well, here you are, Rashona, and these children are not yours, but you are homeschooling them. So we feel like, you know, we have to be sitting there 8 hours a day and teaching things that we may not have the proper understanding on ourselves, but there's networks where you can go and you can link up with other parents, or you can do and like I had mentioned before, like even the sitting down teaching concept. A lot of parents they go to you know, they go to field trips. They do all kind of different things that entails learning that doesn't necessarily mean sitting down in like a classroom setting. We get that notion from public school.
Say one more thing. At the time when I started homeschooling, I used to follow a teacher by the name of Hamza Yusuf. He is the one to inspire me to homeschool. However, he said if you read one book to your child a day,
Right.
that would be more of an education that they would get to in a school for a whole school year.
Wow.
So I would say just start reading.
Yes.
You know, part-time homeschool.
Thank you for
after school if you have to. So Saturday school.
Yes.
Spend some extra time with them. Do your best.
And read. I piggyback on that completely.
Veggie back on
So I have a friend of mine, Brandy, and she's been reading to her child from the womb, you know, and I got to read her a story, and I'm a big advocate. Read.
Yes.
Wait, I mean, one of my play sisters, she wasn't even exposed to TV. They read. You know, and you can tell, you know, you can tell a well-read child,
Absolutely.
you know. So just, you know, reading stories, getting them into it. This year we've read about 4 novels, I think, this year, and there's so much richness in a novel. You know, so, and that's something, because of these standards, we don't get that kind of time in schools.
Right.
But it's so much. We read The Alchemist this year, Redemption in Indigo. We read Holes. We read Powhatan First Nation story called Seas Behind Trees. So, you know, reading novels and choosing the novels, you know, that have the themes that you want to discuss with your scholars too. And I love, Khadijah, what you said also about the sacrifice. Homeschooling is absolutely a sacrifice, right? It's it's an investment, I should say, more so than a sacrifice. I know for me, I worked in the school system. I had a 9-to-5 job with benefits, salary, all of that. I don't have that right now. You know, like I would say, like this is like the least amount of money I've made, and yet the richest I feel. You know, so I think that's something to definitely take into consideration.
So I have a question about
We have 10 minutes left,
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, so no, I was gonna ask about learning disabilities. Do you want to speak on that? Because I mean, you hear a lot about that in the school system.
Yeah.
I mean, have you come across any kids that have quote unquote learning disabilities, or is that something that can be fixed?
Sure. I think the big thing. Now I went to school. I got my master's in special education.
Okay.
So and I think I'm still figuring out what that really means.
What that means, right?
Right. So I mean, I think essentially it's understanding that every human being does have. We have the things that we incline to, that we gravitate to. There's the moments that we start losing interest. What are those moments? When is it? You know, what is that? What do I do differently at that moment? So just constantly staying cognizant and learning how to not get frustrated with myself, or just get frustrated, period. Like, hey, why aren't they listening? You know, just take that as notes. Like, okay, that didn't work. Okay, what to do differently? Or if it is, you know, I'm seeing that they're losing attention more. You know, these days, and you know, talking to the parents, having those relationships with the parents, doing home visits, you know, doing one-on-ones, very, very important. Building the relationship with the scholars helps a lot with what we call the quote-unquote learning disabilities, I would say.
Without medication.
I'm not a big fan of, but that's why meditation over medication. For me.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard you mention the meditation piece.
Yeah.
You know, how significant is that in the learning?
Very. We feel it.
Okay.
You know, I feel it. You know, even, you know, we'll do the deep breathing for, you know, anywhere between 20, sometimes 20 minutes. And afterwards, I feel calmer. You know, so, and then we go about the day. Another thing that also helps with the, you know, the so-called learning disabilities too is communication. So, so one thing that we've been getting really good at is being able to say, hey, can we go outside right now? Because I need some nature time right now. And they've been really, really awesome at communicating their needs. Like, or, you know, we'll do this little hand signal to show that, okay, I need to move around right now. You know, just communicating our needs, or even just saying, for some reason, I start to get really tired during this lesson. Okay, so then we kind of work together. Like, okay, let me see what I can do to
Yeah.
to make it more interactive then.
It sounds like the children have a lot more freedom with you than they would in the public school setting.
And say so.
And most people at homeschool, I hear that because there's different styles. People use different styles to homeschool their kids. Like you were mentioning Saturday school. Some people just, I read an article where the mother was saying she don't focus on making sure they do 5 hours a day. But sometimes she have other things to do. Sometimes she mixes it up, and maybe it's 3 times in the week that they do homeschooling. And then the rest is more adventurous stuff.
That's what I want to put the most emphasis on, because that's the misconception I had personally too. That when I'm homeschooled, I have to carve out 8 hours of my day, Monday through Friday, and that's not necessarily the case. And the children are still advancing. So we believe because
it's quality over quantity.
Yes.
Because actually, the classroom institution is a newfound concept. This came about in the 1920s. So the classroom setting is new for the way to teach
and
children.
really, and it corresponds with the work schedules, right? So we keep them in that long because that's how long parents, adults have to work. But really, if you even look at the work schedule, how, for anybody who has sort of table jobs, how many of them 8 hours do
we work in 3? We
expect rambunctious children to do something we don't even do ourselves. Good point. Kadisha, you want to jump in there? Real quick?
Yes, I wanted to say, when you start homeschooling, you think that your homeschooling is supposed to look like the classroom.
Because you need to be on school yourself.
Trying to do all of the things that they do in the classroom. You quickly realize that that's not going to work. And that you have to adapt and adjust some things to make this thing work.
And you mentioned that when you started out.
Really building a relationship first. And then moving on to the academics.
Exactly. And we've been
25-year-old, she loves academics. The 22-year-old, do not put a book in front of her.
See? And that's okay.
And I was just going to say that.
They both are excelling.
And like you said, Khadijah, what we learned after meditation, check-in time, or even just when we come in, check in. Because when just like you said, when I first started, it was like, okay, structure, and we're gonna do this, and now we have to do this because it's what we do every day. And it was like, you know what, I'm feeling like logic right now. Let's get to the logic part, or having that check-in. How was your weekends? How you guys feeling? Or knowing when sometimes somebody might have something on their mind. Let's release it. Or talking about updates, like news, what's going on in the news right now, and how's that making us feel. Just check-in time before we begin with the rest of the day.
It's only since I've been a mom that I've been really focusing on I have some anxiety. My son just finished pre-K, so he's supposed to be kindergarten, and I have some anxiety about it. I'm still kind of processing it. But I look at him, and he has such a strong personality, about him, and as a part of that, I feel like it's going to be taking away his individuality, because I feel like the classroom environment calls for uniformity a lot.
It breathes on that. It needs that in order to survive.
And if you don't fall in line,
systemic.
It's a factory line system. Exactly. If you have 30 kids, 30 human beings in one classroom, the only way for that to work is if everyone's on the same exact page.
That's the scary part for me.
That's interesting. I just want to share a little bit. We did a study at the Cato Institute in 2001, and there were 3 people that specialize in education in this country, and they were on the debate panel. And there were some interesting topics came up in that debate. One of them was that they found out that a study showed that shallow thinking is related to high test scores in school. I thought that was very interesting when I read into that.
And when you think about it, you can see it. You can see how.
Because I thought that was very fascinating. And then one of them was saying it's a little odd to think that only government can give us standards in education. What makes us believe that, and especially when you look around and see what the government, the shape the government is in today, what makes us think that they can do a better job than a parent?
Absolutely. Who makes their child better?
And that's the thing. I think in reformatting this learning journey and figuring out what are our standards. What are the things that we want to imbue and we want to pass on to our to our young folks. And I know something for me in analyzing this was understanding that everything that we teach in school is a language, right? Spanish, of course. Any language is a language, right? Math is a language. It's a language of the universe, right? English, of course. But what about love, right? Love is like the primary language that we all live by, right? And yet we say the word "I love you," and yet we don't live by it.
Right.
We don't. You know, we might say "I love you," but then I'm not listening when you call me, or I'm not there when you need me, right? Or or I mistreat you, or I abuse you, God forbid, right? So, and these are things that make up our everyday living experiences. So if we're not, and it's like these are people that are institutionally educated. How are we educated and we don't know how to love each other?
Right.
So that's been a big thing. Those are standards that we've been infusing.
And the whole money scenario, because one of the other guys said in the ideal world, we would be much more serious about changing the whole nature of our understanding of education. We would get away from the monopoly model. And he said we need to find ways to deal with the fixation and the obsession we have in this country with money as the solution to our educational problems.
Exactly.
So we feel like we can throw more money at the
That's just going to
schools,
resolve everything.
and it's not resolving.
People are out
Going
there
back to
fighting
the
for
love.
money.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we think it's gonna fix it.
Right.
But just because we're not getting at the root.
Yeah.
of what
Like
the
I
issue
remember
is.
when I was teaching in the public school setting, some words I did not allow. We didn't use the word ugly. Like nobody here is ugly. God don't make ugly. You know. So like and you know any sort of negating negative words that we use to term each other. We don't do that because that's not how we build community. You know. And I think what Ishra was saying, that's how we build a trusting environment.
Right.
You know, is make it safe for everyone to be themselves and be unique. If we're frustrated, then let's speak on the frustration so we can resolve it. Right. But we don't call each other names. We don't degrade one another. And these are a lot of the stories. The first semester is character building stories. You know, dealing with real life emotions and each other. How to live with different personalities. This is a big part of life. And if we're not teaching it in school, then they're gonna learn it maybe from life.
Right.
You know, cross your fingers.
So my last question that I have is what would be your advice to parents who they just feel they absolutely cannot, because we have parents that may have a number of kids.
Yeah.
And they absolutely cannot homeschool. What are some of alternatives that maybe they can, introduce?
Sure. I think, one thing that I'm working on this year is putting all this curriculum that we've been developing into a website so that families all over the world can access it. So that tools like that. I think finding schools, finding private schools, I think too, and there's a lot of actually, in DC I know vouchers for private schools, finding schools like that do have the values that you want to imbue on your scholars. Wilson Baker Academy, they meet 5 days a week. It's a homeschool program, but they're like a private school. So finding
Support
a school,
groups.
sure, finding support groups, finding or finding a private school that meets your needs and getting a voucher for it. That would be one option. Going online, co-ops, absolutely.
Khadija. Yeah. She's still when you decided to homeschool, was there a process where you had to kind of register and follow a certain curriculum?
So in Pennsylvania, you had to gather, you had to file a letter, which was the first step, with the school district. You had to put together a plan, an intent, a letter of intent to homeschool, and the curriculum that you were going to follow. So not exactly a real curriculum by program, but it had to contain science, math, English, social studies, and a physical education component.
Okay.
You had to document 180 days of homeschooling, and at the end of the year, you had to send in a portfolio and an evaluation by a certified teacher.
Okay. Okay. And then that's
the
it.
The minimum to homeschool is a high school diploma.
Okay.
Oh, say it again. Repeat that. You said a minimum of.
A minimum requirement for the parent to homeschool is a high school diploma.
Oh,
So
okay.
you don't have to have a bachelor's degree or an associate's degree to homeschool your children. As long as you had a high school diploma, that was enough to homeschool.
if you're going to do it yourself.
Yes.
if
Right.
you're going to do it yourself.
Which makes sense.
Right.
If you think about it, because that's what you're teaching
Right.
up to the high school
Yes.
education. So,
Right.
yeah.
So we have ran over our time a little bit, but I do definitely want to get information out for Shona where people can reach you if they have any questions, comments, or maybe, I don't know if you're taking any more homeschoolers right now, but
Sure. And for the website, we're opening that up as well. So you can go onto oneloveIsTrueChange.com, all spelled out. You can also text me 240-447-2983 or email me thepeopleson@gmail.com.
okay. Take it a little slower. Repeat that one more time. OneLoveIsTrueChange.com. That's
Yes,
the website.
That's the website. And you
Okay.
can also text me at 240-447-2983.
240-447-2983. If you want to text her, and I know firsthand, text her. You can't get her unless you text her because she do so much. She do so much. Also, I just want to shout out these 3 facts that Alfie Kahn, which was one of the guys that were on that panel discussion, that it moved me the most about what he had to share about education in this country. He said, fact, U.S. students are tested to an extent that is unprecedented and unparalleled anywhere else in the world, suggesting that if testing were the answer to the problems in our schools, testing would have solved them a long time ago. Then he also said, a fact, research has demonstrated repeatedly that there is a positive correlation between how well a child scores on standardized testing and how shallow his or her thinking tends to be. So an individual's high test scores are not usually a good sign of critical thought. That I found very interesting. The last fact he said is this school approach to teaching is ultimately not about helping children to explore, but is about preparing children to be workers and raise the profits of corporations.
Absolutely.
Keep that in mind when you send your babies off to the schools, public school systems, family. Just wanted to share that with you. And
Before you go,
any parting words? Yes, Khadijah.
the 4th grade test scores are used to build jails.
Third grade test scores,
Whoa.
literacy scores, yeah.
Wow.
In 4th grade, they have already counted you out by your test scores.
Wow. Wow. So, wow, that's
Determines the
interesting.
Yeah, third grade
expansion of
literacy
the.
scores,
Yeah. So, Khadijah, we are out of time, but I want to give you just a few seconds to share any parting words you want with the family who's joining us and watching.
I would just say, don't be discouraged. Don't be scared to take your children's education into your own hands. Just pray about it and jump off the cliff and go for it.
I love it.
If not, you won't fail. You won't fail. At the very least, you'll have a stronger relationship with your family, and at the most, they'll come out college graduate.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Khadijah. We appreciate you sharing with us today.
Thank you for calling in.
So,
Thank you.
Shona, any parting words for the family?
I'm gonna let Khadijah have it.
Have that last word.
That's it. Just know that everything is possible, and you have a community here to support you with it.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you so much. I completely enjoyed this. I have a 5-year-old. I'm taking it all.
Well, this is the Empower Hour. You can
Yes.
catch us right here on elifemedia.net every Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m. As you know, we come with a powerful topic of discussion each and every week. So catch us back next week from 2 to 3 p.m. Take care, family. Peace.
Thank you. Good day.